The presentation from mass design is the one that is going to come first. So may I invite you to set that up, and then Noela, all you'll need to do is play with this little toy. So after the two presentations, we'll have a panel discussion.
As Alex mentioned, my name is Noela Niwakuze. I am an architect, and I currently work in mass design. I am a design director, and I lead the Learning and Entrepreneurship focus area, which I will be speaking about today. Yes, yeah, so if it's your first time to hear about MAS, so MAS stands for Model of Architecture Serving Society. So we are a design firm, and we are committed to researching, building, advocating for architecture that promotes justice and human dignity. We have offices in Kigali, in South Africa as well as in the US, in Boston and Poughkeepsie. But the Kigali office is the largest, where we have around 130 employees, including architects, engineers, landscape architects, filmmakers. We make furniture, and we also build. We also have researchers. So today, I would like to speak about our focus area. As you can see, this is what I said. I think for the African youth, before we embrace anything else, we need to be proud of who we are, our language, our culture. Everything we do should be rooted in that before, so that we can advance our own communities with pride. Just one second. The new focus area, which is the learning and entrepreneurship. So we noticed that from our experience in building educational buildings, realized that spaces that we build have a huge impact on how we learn and how we work. If we build well, then we can inspire our youth to be curious, to have critical thinking, and to become entrepreneurs. And this is why we're trying to move from only building, but also to support organization and the youth to reach their full potential through design. And why do we focus on the youth? As we know, the African continent has the largest population of young people. As you can see, in just 5 years, around 35% of the population in Africa will be youth. How do we see this? Not as a negative thing, but more as a positive thing to use our youth to actually advance our continent. However, despite having the largest youth population, the African continent is also one of the poorest. That means if we don't do anything now, we're going to have huge problems in the future. We're going to have a large number of unemployment, and that's going to perpetuate the poverty on the continent. So we need to do something, and it's the youth that needs to do that. So how do we support the youth to take us out of poverty? So one of the tools that the continent obviously uses is education, which is understandable. Our education system is one of the best tools we have to equip young people with what they need to become future entrepreneurs or even future employees who will find solutions for their own communities. So due to, as you know, with such a big number, we need to build about 9 million classrooms just for people under 15 years so that we can educate everyone. The problems in education, I'm not going to touch on them. We all know them. Sometimes it's too far to go to school. A lot of kids do not go to school for various reasons: poverty, distance, security. So how do we think beyond just the classrooms? One of the initiatives the continent is looking at, obviously, There are 12 initiatives, things like gender equality, peace, improved pedagogy, ICT, but realize that all of these things are only achievable if design is also part of it. We don't, and when I talk about design, it's not just architecture, don't get it wrong. It's everyone who is creative. So we all need to be part of this solution. And this is why we believe that design should be at the center. And I can give you an example. If we want more girls to go to school, we need to build schools that have safe spaces for girls, rooms for girls who understand. So this is why we need designers to be at the table with policymakers to understand how to make this infrastructure beneficial to everyone. So as designers, we don't want to be called when everything is already set to put infrastructure, but we want to be part of the early discussions together to find solutions together so that what we build is actually informed by the problems and the challenges we want to face, but also by the solutions we want to see. In addition to that, the International Monetary Fund in 2020 informed that we need at least 20 million jobs created every year over the next 2 decades to meet the demand of just sub-Saharan Africa's growing workforce. So we cannot just rely to finish school and be employed. We need to think about out of the box. How do we create jobs ourselves? How do we be educated to think that I'm gonna be my own boss in the future and not just look for work? Because if we all look for work, it won't really work. As you understand, it's not just because you went to school does not guarantee you that you're gonna get a job. So that means we need to rethink our education system. How do we educate our young people to think out of the box on how to become entrepreneurs at every level of education so that they can find solutions for their communities instead of always looking outside. So there are a few things we thought we could do. We could build more classrooms, but will that be enough? Will that solve the problems? No. That means we need to build better. What does it mean to build better? I'll give you examples of what it means to build much better. Building classrooms that motivate kids to learn, to love school, to interact, etc. But that also is not enough. We also need to think differently about our education system. How do we ensure that what we've seen, like what we've been handed over by the Western countries is actually not working for us? Looking at the population growth. The normal trajectory of a young person on the continent is you start from pre-primary, you go to primary. This is what the education looks like in the West, and maybe it works for them. But we know it does not work on the continent, simply because people drop out for various reasons. Some people, by primary, they drop out either due to poverty, long distances. There are various reasons why kids will not go to secondary schools. Others drop out at secondary schools. Others do not go to university. Not all of us will go to university. And others do not get jobs at all. And those who drop out at primary, at secondary, they find themselves in informal work where there's no insurance, there's no guarantee that they're gonna keep their jobs. And these kids who drop out at this time, they're gonna be, when they have kids, that means they're gonna perpetuate this poverty through generations. So how do we think about entrepreneurship starting from primary school? How do we ensure that our education system can prepare our kids to think critically starting from primary, realizing that some of them will not reach university at all? And to achieve that, what we're trying to do at MAS, first, we are working with organizations like the Ministry of Youth, the Ministry of Education, to understand how we can, as designers, support them to think on how to change or to think about education differently. That also requires research, having informed research of what is happening on the continent and what we can do, doing projects that helps young people start to think that way early on, advocacy and policy change, but also capacity building and training, which I will touch on what we're working with young people in terms of training and capacity building. So I'm gonna go quickly through some examples of projects we've done that really thought about educational spaces differently from what we've seen before. So starting from primary, the Mubuga Primary School, it is located in the Musanze district, so we worked with the Ministry of Education and M Square, which were the funders, to increase the capacity of this school. At some point, they were having about 800 kids, and they had only built for 400 kids. Some were studying in the morning, others in the evening, but still, they're not managing to reach the capacity they needed. So what we did, as you can see on the master plan, we thought how we can encourage kids to love school, to go to school. And as you know, especially in rural area, schools are not only to learn, they're also community spaces for parents on the weekends that can also be used. So on your left, you have your typical classrooms, which has like, this is very technical words, I'm gonna try to speak in simple words, but what we did on the math classrooms is to make sure we have enough ventilation, enough light, enough so that kids can learn at any time of the day. When it's too hot in the evening, it's in the afternoon, they won't fall asleep because it's not too hot anymore. They have enough lights that they can see on the board at any time, and also shaded from the sun. I don't know if it's the internet, but I'm not seeing any image here. Okay, there's an image missing, but we can move on to the next one. So when we did a survey afterwards, especially about the playing spaces, so one of the students was like, kids are playing together, because initially where the kids were playing were spaces that were not thought about. So as you know, all in primary schools, we were just like playing outside without any formal way, but we provide a different way to play, because this is one of the ways kids also learn, through plays, but also we provided outdoor learning spaces when it's hot, so that kids can also have like this, change. The next one, there were some images missing, unfortunately, but it's fine. The next one, I will also go quickly through this one, is the Rwanda Institute for Conservation and Agriculture, which is in the east part in Bugesera. So the students learn, it's very hands-on about agriculture, so they can become the entrepreneurs of tomorrow in the agriculture industry in Rwanda. So everything is hands-on. This is the master plan with One Health approach, where we really ensured that we protect the ecosystem, the environment, but at the same time providing learning spaces that will help the students to become the entrepreneurs of tomorrow. So in their first year, they live in a house surrounded by a small farm. So they live like a typical farmer in Rwanda, where they take care of a farm, but also some cattle, like cows. And then as they move in the second year, they learn value-add agriculture, industrialized, when they start like making things like yogurt, jam, etc. But everything is hands-on. And what we did, because we wanted to elevate the value of agriculture, as I mentioned, this is like how the first year live. You have like 21 students in a house, and they take care of a farm around the house. So they understand how hard it is, so that when they go out, they will be able to help other co-ops who are already doing that. And then as they move through the second and third year, that's when they start learning what we call value add, more industrialized, like what Inyanje does. So we wanted to elevate the value of agriculture. So when you pass through the campus, you can see exactly what is happening, how you go from your farm to making yogurt or to making jam or to making bread, so that people can embrace agriculture more. Obviously, we looked at orientation, making sure the classrooms, you can study at any time of the day. It's not too hot, it's not too cold, it's not too sunny, so it's comfortable. The last one, it's the Norquin Kigali House that we did for entrepreneurs. So we worked really very early on with the Norquin management to understand what they wanted to achieve. So they wanted that to create a space for entrepreneurs where they can come together and talk to each other and understand each other, not be isolated. Capacity building, but also they can also get some funds from investors easily. So the space has this entrepreneurship culture in mind with the local and international network. They have enough space, different spaces where they can change depending on what someone is doing. They can meet a potential investor, a potential partner easily, and that really made the whole space vibrant. But this was achieved because design thought on what was going to happen in those rooms. And we've seen the change. I'm sure most of you have been to Norquin already to understand how it's the place where you want to be if you're an entrepreneur. So in terms of architecture, we try to preserve, because this is one of the oldest structure in Kigali, so the historic structure of Ecole Belge, changing it a little bit, but making sure we preserve our built environment as well. We have enough exterior spaces so that you can be more productive depending on how you want to work during the day. So all these spaces really were encouraged to make sure entrepreneurs can be more productive and more creative. So this is one of the people we interviewed where he gave this statement, like the ecosystem, like you can have 1,000 different conversations. You meet one person from one startup who's doing something completely different, and then you can speak to each other and see how you can work together. I mean, we have someone on a few images of Norquin. I'm going this through quickly. So this is really what I wanted to touch on. Some of the initiatives we have at MAS to help young people in terms of job creation and capacity building. So the African Design Center, this is a fellowship we had a couple of years ago where we had 10 different African designers from different countries. They came together, they worked with us in the office, and they ended up building one of the schools. So we are doing a second phase soon, a little bit differently. We're still gonna have young Africans from different countries, but this time they're gonna spend time in our office, and then they're gonna go back home, and we're gonna support them for 2 years again in their home countries to help them practice what they've learned, because we want them to go back in their communities and improve them. The GIZ partnerships, so on one of the construction sites where we worked, we realized most of people were doing construction works, but they had no papers. That means if the work is done, it will be difficult for them to prove that they have the skills. So we worked with RPLC in Musanze, and we gave them training, where at the end of the training program, they got certificates that they can take to the next site and be able to be employed. We are currently pursuing a grant with MasterCard Foundation, and this one, we're gonna work with 15 creatives in the furniture who are passionate about designing and making furniture already, and we're gonna bring them in the office again. We have a mass-made company when we're gonna train them on making quality furniture, but also help them within their businesses through business development, looking for funds. So this is a fellowship that is gonna go for 3 consecutive years, and then also be able to follow them up when they are already set and not let them just go, if you understand what I mean. We're going to pursue them for 3 years, ensuring that their businesses are actually lucrative. We're also pursuing an Enable grant where we're going to support the University of Rwanda and some TVETs through their curriculum, which will be hands-on on construction, so that these university students will learn how to design sustainable buildings, but they're also actually gonna do really projects in their communities, build them with the communities, and we're gonna support them, teaching them how it's done in real world, so that by the time they finish university, it's not just theory, but they also have some practical skills. And again, really hoping they can go back and improve their communities. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Noella. You will be back on stage in a few minutes. Next up, we have Naomi. Naomi is a monitoring and evaluation advisor at SCAT Consulting. Naomi, it is your stage now. I am sorry we started a little late, so a few of the presentations and the discussions are going to be rushed a bit, so bear with us. So Naomi's presentation, please.
Thank you very much, Alex. And Noella, thank you very much for your very inspiring presentation. I learned a lot about the math company does. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Naomi Takaya. I am going to present different perspective in terms of employment creation and skills development. Why different? For instance, Mass Design, it's a private company. What I'm going to present today is about the employment creation from what the international corporation does, from the example of Swiss corporation. Okay, just quickly, this is here the outline of the presentation today. So there are, let's say, 5 components. One is about the structure of international cooperation, which you may, not for you to get complicated or they're confused. I will go very quickly. And then Swiss agencies for development and cooperation called SDC, Swiss Corporation, how they support in terms of skills development and employment creation. Then move on to the other ProEco program, which is my program. I've been engaging in this project for the past 6 years. So I will introduce this project and how it's evolved in terms of skills development and also the employment creation. Then I will do a quick summary. So just very quickly, because you may confuse, I'm working for the SCAT Consulting Rwanda. This is a Swiss consulting firm. And then I'm working for the Swiss corporation as the SCAT Consulting Rwanda, but the project I'm going to present is ProEco, promoting of firm employment through the climate responsive construction material production. This is a project. And this project is funded by Swiss Agency for Development and Cooperation. And this is a bilateral cooperation project. So bilateral means Swiss government and the Rwanda government. They signed the agreement, and then we implement the project. So the other side is more government agencies that we have been working with. And then, so we are implementing agencies, and the Swiss and the government agencies of Rwanda, they are more steering committee and then the owner of the project. So please not to confuse. So there may be a ProEco, SCAT, Swiss, and also the government agencies. Then in terms of skills development, Swiss has been invested a lot. There are currently one project, but previously there is a project called the ProMost. They did the more emphasized was more dual training. Have you had a dual training? Dual means Swiss model, which is developed in 19th century. Basically, the apprenticeship program, which you can learn both theoretical and practical. So to do that, you have to engage in Tibet institutions as well as the companies. So there is a close collaboration between the Tibet institutions and the companies. I would say this is more market-driven and company-led skills program, so rather than the skills supply-side driven. Then currently, based on the success and positive impact of the first project, to institutionalize this system, STC has been supporting Rwanda-Tibet board to institutionalize this dual training and embed it and formalize this dual training in the formal education. So now, it's a eco program. So this is the project I've been working, and basically this project is the objective is to create off-farm jobs and improve working conditions in the building material sector, but also more extended to the construction sector, while minimizing the negative impact of the environment. So there are key intervention areas, which I go more details in the next slide. So there are three intervention areas: sustainable and inclusive urbanization, second, green industrial development, and then the third is skills transfer. So basically, what do we do? So maybe you can start a green industrial development, which is in the middle. So basically, we supported clay material production. So why? Because Rwanda has huge deposits of clay. And then the Swiss government has been investing and has invested in 1960s. Then they identify, clay can be the raw material that can be used and optimized to create a country and then develop local economy. So it has a long history. So we started to support brick producers. And then that is still building materials. But then move to the sustainable and inclusive urbanization, not only building materials, but how to use it more effectively. And then it's also in line with the government agenda, which is urbanization, and provide affordable housing. So the pre-building materials to the construction and then urbanization. And then throughout these two intervention areas, skills transfer, not only skills development, the transfer, that the local actors own the skills and use the skills that they acquire. So there are three phases. Unfortunately, this project is ending after 12 years of intervention. So their first phase was, I'm sure you heard, R&D, research and development. Second phase, based on the research development results, we did a proof of concept. And then the third phase is scale up. Just remember these phases, very important, because this is associated with the scale. And then this is associated with the creation of employment. So the first phase, as I said, what we have done is we again identify the clay deposits and then move on to the other supporting existing brickyards. There are more than 35 or 39 brickyards which have been producing the modern bricks, but in a very inefficient manner. And the resource was not really optimized. So we helped them to transform traditional seasonal bricks production to environmentally and socially responsible way of production. For instance, using a bio-waste instead of firewood. And also the instead of seasonal clamp, but more permanent infrastructure. And also introduce, not fully, because fully mechanization requires a lot of investment, but semi-mechanization. And also, as many Rwandans, of course, Rwandans know about made in Rwanda products. So we also supported made in Rwanda building materials. So you can see this side is a traditional brick production. Some of you, I'm sure most of you have seen, even if it's not here, but in your country. And then transform to the more permanent infrastructure. Then phase 2. So first building materials. Now from building materials to building. So we did the demonstration of 10 in 1, means 10 units in one building. And also to do that, you have to densify. You have to increase the floors. And then that has to be affordable. So you can see the next slide. This is very important. I wanted to show you the photo. Oh. Okay, this is the one. So, yeah, this used to be the building. This used to be there only 3 plots, but it's converted to 27 units building. And then it looks luxurious. It has its own entrance, and also the nice looking. And you can see the looking inside is also looking good, but it's affordable housing. So this is innovation that we have proposed. Okay, then again, now it's from building materials to building, and now from building to neighborhood transformation. So neighborhood, we will talk about the neighborhood and how did we support it? How did we support? So basically, in terms of skills, we basically supported workplace learning. This is already proven that I mentioned STC has been supporting TVET dual system. So workplace learning is very, very effective. So we continue to support in this program, and also neighborhood. So community needs to be involved. Community has to raise their voice. What kind of neighborhood they want to be, they want to live. What kind of units they want to live. What kind of gaps they have, and they have to fill. So then to do that community participatory approach, community participation is very, very important. So we did, together with the community, co-designing session of the neighborhood as well as units. And also to do that individual consultation, it's one-to-one consultation, which time-consuming, which labor-intensive, but it's not always it's not always a bad thing. So people satisfied, and their satisfactory level is really increased, and their engagement has increased. So now it's a neighborhood level. Before it was like that, and then now it's after. It's this is what's happening right now. You think it's just AI image or the other from the, but this is actually happening. Okay, now it's from neighborhood. Remember, building material, building, neighborhood, now citywide scale. Why not replicating this model at the citywide level? So this is what we are supporting. You may see some unfamiliar terminology like, sustainable financing, special vehicle purpose. These are the financial modeling that we are proposing. And also the constant and regular and sustainable building material supply through the establishment of eco-industrial park for the building material. Then I just quickly introduce this. We have developed implement calculation tool. So we did the monitoring of how our project development agency contributed to the creation of employment. So which is associated with our intervention area, which is also the building brick production. Then you can see the trend, the building material production increases, of course, the employment increases. In terms of employment, we looked at the direct and indirect in the value chain, and also the induced jobs outside of construction value chain. Then lastly, this is a summary. This is my last slide. So what's important is that let me just quickly introduce these unique advantages of ProEco. So we worked both skills supply and skills demand side. We supported Brukias. They are companies. They are employers. And also we worked with the public institutions to produce curriculum, training program, and also the professional associations. But what's important is you can see the fund. To do that, of course, financial resources is needed. To start with, STC supported. Second, City of Kigali at the neighborhood level, they used their fund. Next one, the government for the neighborhood level. they brought a fund. And then now we are looking at the more co-financing, which is attracting private investors in a SPV format. Okay, so I hope it's your turn. Thank you very much. It was rather short. Yeah.
So Naomi, please take a seat. Pick a seat. You're not going away. Noella, I will invite you back here. I'll also invite Suzanne. Suzanne, then Ika, please come to the stage. So ladies and gentlemen, we only have 20 minutes left to have a conversation. The team here is going to expound on the two presentations, and we'll have a chance to ask up to 3 questions. So if you have any questions, prepare them. You will be prompted shortly. Just to check that we can use these mics. Okay. Welcome to the stage. First of all, let's give a hand clap to the 2 presenters again. And now I would like to invite Ika. Ika, yes. You've showed up to this panel after the 2 presentations.
Yes.
In 1 minute, just introduce yourself, who you are, okay, what you do, and what you want these young people to take away today.
Okay, thank you. Am I audible enough? Wow, this is a cold room. Like, hi, how are you? Yes, my name is Ikar Teuka. I'm a serial entrepreneur based here in Rwanda. And today I'm talking about laminar technologies. And I hope that by the end of this session, at least this panel discussion, you guys are inspired to get into entrepreneurship, try it out. And I want you to know that I'm a peer. I'm very young, and I think I'm well positioned to share with you guys and share my thoughts and my experience in the entrepreneurship ecosystem and how you can navigate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ikar. Now, please play the video before Suzanne says anything.
My name is Susanna Mnekatete and I live in Rwanda. I think it's the most beautiful country in Africa. I am an entrepreneur who invents new things for the craft market. Rwandan women work hard. Agriculture is our main source of income. But some of us have a special skill, a way to make something beautiful that represents Rwandan culture. Rwandan baskets are already famous. You can buy them in New York. The women who weave them earn their independence. The market is growing, but so are the number of weavers. So they always ask me the same question. What else can we make that you can help us sell? Lack of innovation is bad for business. Tourists visiting our country want something new. So, we picked 5 Rwandan values and made a basket to match each one.
Ubusugi, gutanga, ubucuti, ubumwe, amahoro.
Then we made the basket bigger, changing the shape to fit the human body, and designing a light, strong metal frame. In this way, the original Rwandan basket chair was born. But to make this chair, we need your help. We need to raise $10,000 to start production here in Rwanda. You can buy a basket or be the first to own a basket chair and help us weave a bright future for Rwanda. murakoze cyane.
Of is an heritage. Who we are a community-based organization which is empowering Rwandan women, especially neglected ones, like teen mothers, women from lower income, and those who are living with HIV. What we do, we offer free training in weaving, because we are promoting our Rwandan cultures through traditional artistic weaving skills. My takeaway today for you, as people who want to pass through the same journey of entrepreneurship, entrepreneurship is only chance you have as young people, which will help you to follow your dream, to control your destiny. If not, destiny controllers will control your dream and you will never achieve. And of course, this is only opportunity you have to own your own business. Entrepreneurship is full of challenges, of course, like those destiny controllers, but believe me, we also have destiny helpers. Those are the people who will give you ideas, who will support you in different way. Then, another thing you have to keep in your mind, even though we have challenges in this journey, but it's rewarding to see how people work together, come together, and grow together. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Suzanne. I'm sure you're already familiar with Naomi and Noella. I won't ask them to introduce themselves, but I'm going to ask them to tell you something they expect you to take away today from this session. While they are doing that, I would like to ask the team at the back to just have their microphones ready for any questions that will come shortly after that. Noella, please go ahead. What do you want these guys to take?
I think I would like you, as young people, to understand that you are capable of doing big things for your communities and not always waiting for solutions to come outside. You have, especially in Rwanda, that's what I know most, you have support, you have people you can look at, like Ikar and Suzanne, who have already done it. But what I want to encourage you, even though it's not easy, is that do not stop dreaming big and do not neglect where you come from. Like, be proud of being Rwandan, of being Africans, and understand that you can be the solution that everyone is looking for.
All right, thank you, Noella.
Thank you.
Naomi, what would you like these young people to take home?
Oh, okay. Can you, okay, the microphone is working. Okay, thank you, Alex. Okay, probably you may be wondering where I'm from. I'm Japanese, working for Swiss company, but I'm Japanese. And then some of you may know that Japan is really an Asian country. And then totally opposite to African continent, 1 out of 3 Japanese is more than 65 years old. You can see how old it is, how old the country it is. And then aging is even getting faster and faster, and then we are really having a serious problem in terms of population growth, which is totally different again from this context. So I'm really inspired today. I'm really, really happy to be here today with you, and then so vibrant. And then, today I have 2 takeaways that I'd like you to bring home. One is that, as I mentioned, international cooperation, which is you've been calling aid, development, that can also contribute to the creation of employment from a skills demand side, which is private sector. So that is one. Second is, as Noella mentioned, don't give up. And then moreover, precisely, lifelong learning. Probably you might have heard, don't stop where you are, continue to learn, continue to upskill. Learning continues throughout your life. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Naomi. So I just want to make sure that certain thoughts you had don't get lost before we get into up to 2 questions from the panel or to the panel from me. The team, let's have 2 or 3 questions from the audience. So we have one here, the gentleman here. I would like to see a lady. Okay, we have one from a gentleman, the first hand that went up. The only gentlemen raising their hands, and yet there are more ladies in the room. Okay, so the gentleman right there, then the next one will be you because your hand came up second. Ladies counting once, twice. Okay, then we'll take the third question from the back because your hand came up quickest, third. Gentlemen, sorry, we're only taking 3 questions for now, okay? So 1, 2, and then at the back 3. Please go ahead, very brief, all right?
Okay, thank you so much. This is, it was inspiring. But my question is for Naomi. It sounded like it's a very amazing project. Could you maybe expand a bit on your metrics for success for each phase and the results that you've seen now, and what is your plan for sustainability? Because I heard you say the project is coming to an end. So what is the plan for sustainability? But it sounds like an amazing project. Thanks.
Yes, you know Naomi's name, but she doesn't know your name.
Oh, sorry. My name is Owen. I'm from Zimbabwe, but I've been living in South Africa, and now I've just started living in Rwanda. Thanks.
Okay, welcome. So Naomi, park that question. Let's hear from the second gentleman there with specs. Yes, go ahead. What's your name, and then what's your question, briefly?
Okay, my name is Iyata Adikbe. I'm from Carnegie Mellon University, Rwanda here. So my question is for the serial entrepreneur and the panel. So when one starts the journey of setting up a business, I am co-founding a edutech platform with my brother. And the issue we have is around finance. So the business is, maybe your business is not at the stage where you have all the documents and all that to attract the bigger financiers. All you have in your hand is an idea and maybe a laptop, what's in your head. So how do you navigate that space? Thank you.
All right. So the gentleman, Owen, is from Zimbabwe. And then your accent, you're from West Africa? Nigeria. Welcome. So there was someone at the back, just in front of the camera.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I might be having some bass, sorry for that. My name is Samuel Odongo. I'm from Kenya, specifically the United Democratic Alliance, the ruling party in Kenya right now. I have one question with regards to the discussion that has been going on. We as young job seekers, we face some hurdles, specifically from the emergence of things like AI and the rest. I would inquire such that we know that how do we go about such things, and again, if you consider the career progression in remote areas, a lot of youths face problems with regards to where they are and how they progress. It depends with maybe their supervisors where they are located. So these are hindrances to our career progressions as youth. So how do we go about all this? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Odongo. to see it. Now, Noella, you're going to take the question on AI. Naomi, your question was specific about metrics. Ikar, your serial entrepreneurial experiences need to come forward. But because the three gentlemen, one was from Nigeria, another one was from Zimbabwe, and the last one was from Kenya, I'm going to invite one question from Rwanda, surely. One question from Rwanda. Okay, we are here. Please, the microphone. One question from Rwanda, and I hope it's to Suzanne. Yes. No, here. Oh, okay, there you are at the back. Go ahead, please.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
My name is Noemgane Nosante, a student at ALU. And I have a question for Noella from Mass Design. As I am a software engineer, so I would like to join mass media. So I want to ask you, what are the qualifications? Thank you.
Okay. That's a very easy question. So I'll allow this gentleman to ask a question of Suzanne. Please, quick. So I see we have only 10 minutes together. No, here, forward. All right. What's your name? And then question to Suzanne quickly.
I'm Felix Nizaiman. I want to ask you that, Suzanne, the question that your job creators in a rural village to people from low income. But how can you convince that someone you train with lower skills to achieve or to do that best product? How can you, which way use to achieve that goals when you use lower peoples all from lower villages?
Suzanne, is the question clear? Wenda mubaze mu Kinyarwanda.
Ndikumubaza zira product akora ziri high quality kandi bitewe n'ibyo twabonye mu mashusho akorana n'abantu bari lower knowledge cyangwa se badafite bwa bumenyi buhagije kuri ku byari gukora. Yabigenje ate cyangwa se niye strategy yasetinze ajya gutangira that's project?
Okay. Suzanne, it's okay? Yeah, so you can think about it. Let me have Ikar responding first.
Okay. Sorry. Yes, remind me your name? Yata. Yes. So, wow, there's a lot of ways I could advise to go about it. But luckily enough, you mentioned you want to start a tech company, right? And fortunately for you, there is you don't need much to start a tech company. I would be worried if you were going into, let's say, hardware or manufacturing, where you need a lot of capital investment to begin with. For tech projects, start treating it as a project for now, not a company. So if you said you go to Carnegie Mellon, yeah. So you have an environment that's more than enough for any tech project to thrive. So you have, I would imagine, mentors, you have colleagues that you can brainstorm on this project. So treat it as a project for now until you reach a point where you have actually locked in users or potential clients, and then worry more about the business side after. I think there is a misconception that a business is the product. No. Business is actually everything else that happens around the product. So you can always refine the product before you get into the business side of things, which now involves the legal side of things, finance, HR, hiring people. So now is the best time. Now that you are at Carnegie Mellon, they have all sorts of programs to expose you to different partners that could work on the project. So fine-tune the product, and then for the raising part, I think there is a lot of hackathons that happen in the education system. You have places like Norsken you can go to where there is a lot of events that are happening that can expose you to different grant opportunities, or you call them hackathons? Hackathons that have like a prize at the end of it.
Yes.
So you can participate in all these different initiatives that can give you like grants maybe to cover a few expenses here and there. But to implement now, you don't need a lot of money to start.
Okay.
And yeah, I think that would be my,
All right.
my response.
Iris at the back, can you just show us how much time we have? You can either do this or this to mean we are here forever. 5 minutes? 10 minutes? 10 minutes, thank you very much. So, Naomi, if you still remember your question, how can you respond to it in maximum 2 minutes?
Let me try. It's Owen. Thank you very much for your question, and very interesting and very critical. So let me just quickly summarize. I made 3 points in terms of success factors. So basically, we proposed the affordability concept. And remember urbanization in the African continents, in the African cities, very, very important, very, very significant, and it's really happening at a rapid pace. For instance, in Rwanda, urbanization rate is more than 3.6% every year. So and also the government agenda is also the urbanizing the country. So 2024, the national target was 38% of urbanization. And then that will be increased in 2050 in the next National Strategy for Transformation 2. So the urbanization, meaning providing affordable housing, safe and decent living condition, is really a national agenda and an important and needs to be addressed and then solved quickly. So this affordability concept, and I think our innovation or the using, it's not something we developed, but we kind of used building materials, which I mentioned, and also the using technology that has been existing, but we kind of revitalized, and then a market and concept and the package. And that concept was really a good buy-in. And the city of Kigali, the government took it. So there was a buy-in concept here. So this is in affordability, and this is one factor, one successful factor. And this is a quite technical project. Technical in a sense engineering, but also the community participatory approach, which is a soft, but also it's very technical. So who did it? It's our engineers, our architects, our structural engineers. They did this process. So that means they are willing to take additional skills. So this, I would say, skills plus, your occupation plus. So please remember that the lifelong learning is very important. Your learning willingness also added to your or the career. So this is the second factor. And the third factor is community participatory approach. We involved community. It's not the government who decided this unit is for you, this unit for you. It's not. So we did a co-designing. What kind of neighborhood you want to live? What kind of, how many family members do you have? And what is your main source of income? So we did all these questions. We did all this dialogue with the community. Community as well as individual. When you say community is not always a homogeneous entity. And community is a big entity at the neighborhood level, but if you live in a block, that is also a smaller community, and individual. So we differentiate community. That community participatory approach, I would say this is a third factor. So then, future. So the international cooperation in terms of through the implementing agencies ending. However, Swiss government is continue to provide support to the public institutions. This is a new modality of international cooperation of Swiss government.
Thank you, Naomi. You can even meet Naomi to expound on it. It's quite a big project, and it's been around for over 12 years. Now, Noella, you're in the business of creating spaces, and someone is asking you to comment about AI. So tell us about the potential impact of AI.
Sure, that's quite a difficult question, but I'll try to answer it. As I mentioned, the curriculum and the way we think about education on the continent should be tailored to who we are and who we are as a continent, as people. So AI obviously is big now, and I would think it would be a waste to be doing things that AI or technology can be doing for us currently. But maybe not all of us have that privilege, especially you talked about rural areas in villages where people are not able to have all those infrastructure. How do you use AI if you don't have electricity or internet? So this is why all of us here who are exposed to that should be the ones to find solutions for the people in the village, how they can also be able to access it. But what I would try to say is, like, do not ignore it. Do not think it's something for the future. It's here, we need to embrace it, and we need to use it to advantage to make our work much easier and be able to focus on what is more important, what is AI cannot be doing for us currently. But yes, let's embrace it, let's take advantage of it, and let's use it every day if we can.
All right, thank you, Noella.
There was another question from a student from ALU. I think it would be good we can meet after this panel.
So her background is in, I think, software or computer science.
Yes.
I think she will help you understand AI even better.
Definitely.
So answer her question after she speaks more about AI and how we can harness it. Now, Suzanne, after such a wonderful video you shared, Felix, right, asked you a question about how you manage labor and skilling labor and the very complex processes of making or weaving. Could you please respond?
Simply, I will go first with my mother tongue to help him.
Please.
Then later I will use second language.
Yeah.
Ikintu cya mbere nakubwira, ntabwo dufasha abadamu bo mu cyaro gusa. Ni abadamu birengagijwe bo mu byiciro bitandukanye. Ushobora kuba warabyariye iwanyu igihe kitageze, ugatangira urugendo rwo kuba umubyeyi urera umwana wenyine kandi utararangije kwiga. Abo turabafasha. Aba bana n'ubwandu bw'agakoko gatera sida. Hari noneho n'abandi bava mu miryango bakorerwa ihohoterwa rya buri munsi kubera ko ntacyo binjiza mu ngo iwabo. Utubigenza gute? Genda umuboshyi w'umwuga. Ndabigisha, nicyo cya mbere nkora, nkabigisha ubwo bumenyi kuko dufite ibikuyengero cyangwa se amadesign arenga 60 mu Rwanda yari afite icyo avuze mu muco. Ikindi, ushyizeho ubwo bumenyi mfite, dukorana n'amasi umunsi ku wundi, bafite abadesign b'umwuga. Baraza tukicara hamwe tukababwira ibyo tuzi, noneho tugatangira urugendo rwo gutegura ibyo twashyira ku isoko mu buryo bunoze kugira ngo binahangane n'ibyo twasanze ku isoko. Wanyuzwe?
Okay. Komeza.
Ibyo nibyo dukora, urabigisha ukababa iruhande. Ikindi ndi rwiyemezamirimo wabyize na bwa bumenyi nigiye mu ishuri mbushyira mu bikorwa, kuko kuba rwiyemezamirimo ntabwo ari ukubyuka ngo ugende utangire ushyire ikintu ku isoko. Urabanza wibaze, ese mfite ubwo bushobozi mbwifitemo? Icyo ngiye gukora ni umuhamagaro wanjye, ngikora ngikunze kugira ngo ubashe no kugikundisha iki abandi.
All right. So it's very clear, and I'm going to challenge Ikar here to translate, but also place it in the context of being an entrepreneur and what it means.
translate
what she said, but also apply it in the context of what it means to be an entrepreneur.
Okay. So I'm going to summarize. I won't do word for word. The question was, how does she make sure to maintain quality? Yeah. No, I mean, the question was around quality control, right? So she mentioned that apart from being a seasoned entrepreneur who has gone through some trainings, she also works with partners like Mass Design and also use references from traditional designs and heritage to keep the quality consistent. So what that means for entrepreneurship, that was the question. So I think, yeah, there's a lot. There's adapting to the environment, because sometimes like this could be a challenge that she had not seen before she started. Maybe I wouldn't speak on her behalf, but I would imagine when you want to bring people on board, you don't anticipate maybe how long it will take for them to, get the skills and really get good at doing the product. But also maybe in my own case, I didn't tell you about my company. It's an engineering company. We support companies in different sectors to set up their manufacturing facilities. And we also provide other consulting services. So one of the main challenges we face is like you meet a client, they know what they want, but they don't typically understand the process that leads there. And we spend a lot of time designing that process for them, visually designing it. You might find it as like taking a paper or doing a slide presentation just to explain the manufacturing process that reaches to the product that they want. So that is sometimes a challenge. It takes a long time for them to understand. But when they do, it's easier to implement because I have gone through that whole process.
Okay.
Yeah, I think my time is up.
Yeah, so ladies and gentlemen, we've had 4 panelists. Our session has come to the end. Naomi at the end there is in what is referred to as development agency. So it's a wider ecosystem to facilitate growth, either at national level or community level. Noella, who is sitting next to her, works for an architectural firm which is in the business of designing spaces that enhance different communities of people, from schools to hospitals to commercial areas like entrepreneurial hubs. Suzanne has demonstrated to us that there is a lot in our heritage as Rwandans that we can translate into job opportunities in the most sophisticated ways that can transcend Rwanda all the way to Europe and to the US. So there's an opportunity. And then Ikar here has also demonstrated to us that locally it is possible to facilitate growth among young people and different technologies and products that you might have at scale. So join me in thanking these 4 wonderful people and myself for taking you through the first session after lunch. Now we are going to have a session on what is referred to as Digital Africa, and I would like to invite the facilitator of that session to come forward as we here go back to our seats. Please remain seated for a session on Digital Africa. And the fact that there's digital in it, I'm sure they are going to pick up on some of the digital related issues that came up during our sessions. Please.
Hello, everyone. How is everyone doing today? Are you awake? Are you with us? Yes? Okay, great. So just to quickly introduce myself, I'm Penelope Terranova. I'm Director of Programs at Digital Africa. And what we do at Digital Africa is we invest and we support early stage tech startups. And we give them the support that they need to thrive afterwards. But also we have programs such as Talent for Startups, where we train young Africans to tech jobs, basically. We're here with a great delegation, about 30 representatives of edtechs from 15 different countries in Africa. And we've gathered here, and we have some great panelists for you today to discuss how we can optimize and how we can foster youth employability through tech jobs and digital and tech skills. So without further ado, I will call the rest of the panelists with me. So we'll start with Ella Abuzi, if she can join me on stage. She is a growth marketer at African Innovation Group, Epitech Benin. So she will be talking a bit more about that. I think the rest of the panelists can start coming our way because they're sitting really far away, so they can start coming. Thank you, Ella, for joining us. We also have Jeff Achompong, who's the founder and CEO of Blossom Academy. Blossom Academy is an edtech, Ghanaian edtech that has really innovative way of training around the topics of data. We also have Nelly Mutula with us, coming from Fuzu. She's head of talent and people at Fuzu, one of the fastest growing career platforms in Africa. And we have as well one of our former students of Talent for Startups, who's also a startup founder himself. So Coucou Lelpeye, thank you for joining us. I know you just arrived, so thank you so much. Maybe let me quickly introduce the topic that we're going to talk about today. So we know that, and that's according to the IMF, by 2035 there will be more young Africans entering the job market every year than the rest of the world combined. That's a lot. We're talking about 10 million per year, approximately. And in this context, we find that digital and tech skills have become essential because a lot of jobs require this type of skills in order to, if you want to be recruited, right? The AFC cracked some numbers in 2019, so take into account that was 5 years ago. In 5 years, a lot of things can change. And 230 million skills, digital skills, talents were needed by 2030. And I think we're still very, very far from that. Only 1 million of those talents were identified back then. And even though there's been an emergence of, an enthusiasm for tech and digital skills in the continent, they're still very centralized in 5 specific countries. I think about 60% of digital talent are gathered in 5 countries. So we have South Africa, Kenya, Nigeria, Morocco, and I am forgetting the last one, Egypt. So they're still very unbalanced, and there's a massive need in other countries to try to stop this gap from happening. And at the same time, there's a massive paradox because companies say we don't have enough skills we don't have enough talent to recruit and to grow our companies. We need to recruit internationally. We don't know where to find these people. And at the same time, we have the African youth, the dynamic, vibrant African youth who says, we can't find a job. So there's a big paradox between these two facts. And we are going to engage in a conversation on how we can bridge this gap a little bit. We're going to talk about how we can what are the challenges for this in this situation, and what are the potential solutions that we can find together. So I will start with having the panelists introduce quickly themselves in 1 minute. I think they will talk about themselves way better than I ever could. So Ella, if you don't mind, start maybe a 1 minute, just so everyone knows who you are.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Penelope. So yes, my name is Ella, and I'm working as growth manager at Epitech Benin, a well-known university in education based in Benin, at Cotonou. And about me, I used to work in different backgrounds, like in transport and in on various projects, like change management and marketing and so on, but always with a goal to address current needs and challenges. So that's exactly what I'm doing at Epitech right now, helping to develop the next generation of tech talent. Yes, that is it.
Thank you so much, Ella. Jeff?
Amazing. Hello, everyone. Energy is low. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Great. My name is Jeff Achampon. I'm with Blossom Academy in Ghana and Nigeria. We identify talents from underserved communities. We train them to acquire data skills. So data analytics, data science, artificial intelligence. We also equip them with leadership skill sets because we believe that the hard skills get them into the door, but the soft skills keep them in there. And then we connect them to industry. Also, again, as I shared in Ghana and Nigeria, but we have hopes of expanding to other African countries. So I'd love to connect with some of you and discuss, your plans for scaling in data analytics, data science, etc.
Thank you so much. Nelly?
Thank you very much. My name is Nelly Mutula. I've worked in recruitment and HR over the past 10 years, currently working with an organization called Fuzu. I hope someone at least has heard of Fuzu. Fuzu is a Swahili word that can be translated to mean to succeed. It's essentially Kufuzu. So we just took that and made it the name of our organization. We are currently based in East Africa and West Africa. How we do support talent across different countries in Africa. As Penelope said, we are the fastest growing career platform in the market, and on top of that, we also then work with employers who are looking for talent, so helping them connect with the right talent while also growing the talent that we have on the platform. So yeah, so we'll be able to learn more about that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Kuku?
Good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Kuku, and I'm from West Africa, Liberia. I'm currently co-founding a startup that is building a product or software that helps to link employers and employee. So we're creating a platform where employers and employee can meet in one box, and then the talents of those employees can be utilized. It's glad to be here. I hope the conversation can be fruitful. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, everyone. So maybe if we can start, we're going to discuss a little bit market trends. So I'm going to ask a first question to Nelly. Fuzu must see a lot of traffic, has a great pipeline of jobs and youths looking for jobs. What are some of the trends that you've seen, and what are some of the challenges that emerge?
That's a very good question. I think you already covered some of them as you were doing the introduction to this session. But as I've said, we do have already over 3 million African youth already engaged on our platform. But then on top of that, because we work with employers and job seekers, we call them career builders, we have been able to build a wealth of data around what are some of the challenges that current African youth are facing. But then on top of that, there's also a lot of research that has been done by different other people. So I'll just quickly combine some of the facts about the job markets across those different areas. So the first one that we see is that if you think about who is coming into the job market right now, it's the youth. I'm assuming all of us fall under the bracket of a youth in one way or the other. If not, just feel youthful, you'll be okay. So at the moment we have approximately 60% of the African population being youth. So these are people who are between the age of 18 to 35. And I believe all of us are essentially ranged there. And if you look at then the fact that, yes, we are having so many youth getting into the job market, the demand for the jobs or the jobs that they're supposed to be doing are not growing at the same rate. So the youth is growing and advancing in age, while then the opportunities that are available there are not there. So the challenge that we have there is that even though the population is growing, the availability of jobs is not keeping pace or keeping in track with that as well, which has led to a lot of unemployment opportunities. And I do like the fact that the previous session we talked about entrepreneurship as an option for you being able to grow yourself. So if you're not able to get a job, then entrepreneurship is an option for you to explore. The other fact I can be able to share is that I believe all of us have gone to school in one way or the other, whether you've advanced from your high school and then gone down your university degree or diploma, or whatever it is that you've done, but you have been able to advance yourself. The challenge that now we are having is the fact that you find employers saying that they're having a big challenge getting talent that is skilled. So 50% of employers across not just Africa, but the global market are having a hard time being able to match the jobs that they have to the talent that is out there. And the reason for this is because the skills, not the skills, but the courses that we go and take do not equip us with the practical experience that is needed to thrive in the workforce. And I know we'll be able to cover some of the things that you can be able to do about that. So that's great. So the challenge is the fact that there is need for skills, but then the skills are not things that are taught practically. And maybe the last thing that I can be able to highlight is a good thing, which is there has been over the past several years, and this is in connection with just the growth of the tech hubs, whether it's in Nigeria, whether it's in Kenya, whether it's in South Africa, whether it's in Egypt. What this has led to is it has led to emergence of a demand for new digital skills. And with that, what then you find is that even though, again, going to the part that we go to school, we are taught you're not equipped with the practical skills for you to be able to match into those digital skills. But the good news is, as long as you've identified that these are the digital skills that are needed out there, you're able to do them a bit better. And probably what I'll be able to point out here is some of the skills that are coming out when it comes to digital skills. It's the like of digital marketing or programming courses, which is something that is there, or data-related courses that you can be able to take up. And this is also driven by the emergence of new industries or new ways of doing things, whether it's the growth of fintechs, whether it's the growth of e-transport businesses, whether it's the growth of food delivery apps, and all those different things, which has then led to the demand for the talent. So there's the demand for the talent, but then the talent that we are essentially getting is not fully equipped for them to be able to do all these different things. And I believe we'll be able to tackle how we can be able to sort some of these challenges as we go through.
Great, thank you. You mentioned something very interesting, entrepreneurship being as a potential solution and a way of employability. So I think it's a good transition with my next question to Kuku. I think you are a founder of startup. You recently finished a training at ICT Chamber. So you're interested in tech in general and digital skills. What was your appeal to do this sort of training and gaining this sort of skills in the framework of your project, your own project?
Okay, thank you. So, firstly, let me give it up to the Talent for Startup team. That program is a gem. So let me appreciate the funder or the sponsors of Talent for Startup, because it is a great push. So I have been interested in tech for a while back home. So I've co-founded a few startups now, but some of them failed. So the first startup I co-founded with a friend actually failed, not because there was not a good engineer. So we had good engineers, and it was a tech startup, and we built the product. But when we're at the point of hitting the market to scale, it was when that the startup has to fail. Now, so I, as a co-founder, have to review what was the actual cost. We had a good product, we had a good marketing team, but the product could not hit the market. So I found out that there was not a good product manager. So there was not someone who could understand the product both from the customer perspective and from the business perspective. So we didn't have that center person who was there to say, okay, this is what the customer needs is, this is what the business needs is, and let's have a solution towards it, to that. So that startup has to fail, So, I mean, we identified that the issue was talent, and that talent specifically was a product management or product manager. So, I mean, I later moved to Kigali, and I found talent for startup, and there was this opportunity to engage into, to learn product management. And I mean, I got involved with that, and that program is good. After that training, I actually understand, validated my claim that there was actually a need for a PM. So after the training, then talent, ICD Chambers and Talent for Startup repositioned me into a few SMEs to work with. And there's one big one called Eden Care, and I work with them as associate PM. And in no time, we start to see that there was an improvement. And then, boom, I got back together with a team and see, let's get around a startup. This is an idea, we can come up with a product. And I can actually see that there is a whole different trend from the first product we have built. Because now there is this talent sitting there who is a PM, who understands the data, the analytics, I mean, the number of clicks on the website or whatsoever, I mean, taking the product, creating the roadmap and everything. And then there was this PM who is waiting now to take the product to life. So our product is not yet in the market yet, the current startup, but I mean, we can understand that there is a whole new trend, and there is a whole new development, and there is a whole new improvement that we could do better if someone sits at this position. So, I mean, incorporating being a PM, I've started initially I've studied information technology and even tried to specialize in software engineering. But I mean, I found out that there can be a blend with technical skills and non-technical skills, and then there can be a perfect solution to that. So I try to blend my technical skills in SE and a non-technical skill in PM, and I mean, the result is just amazing.
Thank you. I think that's a really good, you need a PM, so you became a PM.
Sure.
So if the mountain doesn't come to you, you have to go to the mountain, right?
Sure.
So maybe I'll ask the next question to Ella. We know that the challenge of training the digital workforce inside of the needs is a massive one. We know that there's different ways, different solutions to get this training and for young people to have the skills, get the skills that they need. There's more traditional academic institutions, university and such, that have integrated programs that incorporate a lot of digital skills, etc. Sometimes they struggle with the theoretical part and actually turn it into real experience. So I'm wondering, and I wanted to ask you, Ella, because working at Epitech Benin, being a university with also innovative programs, how do you view the role and responsibilities of more traditional academia in training in digital skills and adjusting to the market needs?
Thank you, Penelope. Yes, so Epitech is come with an innovative educational approach, which is project-based learning, which is the learning by doing. And this approach has a lot of advantages, which are a real-world experience. Like the aim is to bridging gap between theoretical and practical. So. Another advantage is we training students with problem-solving skills mindset. So it's not like a traditional way, like you say, like okay, there is a teacher, a professor who comes with his already courses and so on. It's project-based. We put all our students in a big pool, like we said, and we just gave them a lot of projects to work in. And there are some of people who are the alumni of Epitech who assist them at the end of those exercises to really know if they did it great or not. So what we're trying to do is training students that will be really collaborative, really autonomous, and have this problem-solving skills, so that they can adapt in different sectors, in finance, in taxes, and transport, and so on. So that's the really big differences, the really big difference, from Epitech to other universities. And what we do to adjust with market needs is to get a lot of data about what they want, what are the skills they need, and how we can adapt it in our training. So we have a team dedicated in this side, whose role is really gather information, teach a student soft skills, how to be in a startup, in a professional world, and so on, and so that we can match the demand, So yes, and aside this, I think I might be answered the question.
Yeah. That's a perfect answer. Thank you so much. And I'll transition to Jeff. So we've seen that edtechs, or digital education providers, have become also increasingly recognized as potential solutions for training in these types of jobs. So I'm going to ask you a very basic question. What is an edtech? And how are edtechs placing themselves as innovators in the digital educational world?
Great, thank you for the question. So in simplicity, EdTech is an abbreviation for education technology, and organizations that are leveraging technology to essentially implement education, train people, provide people with relevant career pathways can be called an EdTech. Now, the reality is that the definition can be skewed depending on who you're talking to. So in certain ecosystems, when you're looking at maybe a company supported by a venture capitalist, that's what is seen as an edtech. But then in other ecosystems as well, if you're a company, you're doing blended learning, where part of your team are doing training online versus in person, you could call yourself an edtech. And so that is it in a nutshell. Now, how are they positioning themselves to be innovative? I can speak about our journey very briefly and then maybe delve into that question. So for us, when we set up Blossom Academy 5 years ago, we entered the market realizing that a lot of companies didn't understand what data analytics was or data science was. We were actually the first to implement it in our region. Now, the reason why they never understood it, though, was because they were doing well without having to make sense of their data. In different markets, though, more developed ecosystems, they saw the importance of leveraging data to maintain a competitive advantage. However, in many regions or many countries across the African continent, you could do well for years without looking at the patterns or looking at new markets to expand to and things of that nature. So we took this approach, what I like to call market creation innovation. So rather saying that what doesn't really exist here, and how can we essentially help companies become data-driven? That was the best thing that we did, because going in with that approach, that consultative approach, was not very scalable, but we were able to encourage companies to think through how they can essentially leverage data talents to really help them unlock new markets, increase revenue, decrease costs, things of that nature. And it's what I always implore edtechs to think about. It might necessarily be what is offering in the local market, but something that you've seen work somewhere else. How do you wear a consultative hat and convince companies that this is the future? And if you don't do this, you'd be left behind. So the approach that we took was, I like to say we are bridging three gaps. We are bridging the skills gap, which is we're training people to acquire data skills. We are bridging the experience gap, which means that once they're done with the training, we are connecting them to internships. We have a 100% internship placement rate. Once that's done, we are bridging the opportunity gap, which is connecting them to jobs as well, right? Now, the experience gap, I think, is probably the hardest, in my opinion, getting them that experience within companies. But the beauty about that is that once they're able to essentially penetrate and they build that real-world experience, it allows them to be able to get jobs somewhere eventually. So when it comes to edtech innovation, the last thing I'm going to say here is what I'm really excited about is the relevance of AI when it comes to edtech. How do you provide personalized learning pathways for students? And there are different interesting ways that different people are, going about this, whether it's teaching people to acquire AI skills, like Blossom is doing, or saying that, hey, let me actually follow your journey as you're learning on my platform, and then recommend, different difficulty levels for you to ensure that you thrive, or to ensure that, we are meeting you where you are as well. So I hope that answers the question a bit.
Absolutely. I think you maybe even partially answered my next question to you as well, which was, what is your secret ingredient? How do you manage to get people to a level of skills and to be employment ready in such a short amount of time?
Yeah, that is our secret. But no, like, jokes aside though, I've always believed that the secret is the kind of candidates you bring into the training program. And I'm a very big fan of equity, like making sure that, meeting people where they are. And so we're not necessarily saying, because you learn software development or you learn computer science in school, you are guaranteed to get into the program. Some of our best students did art, chemistry, and yeah, top leaders in data fields, according to LinkedIn, because they have that LinkedIn badge now, in their respective ecosystems. Now, I believe that if you can get their sourcing right, which is finding people who are motivated and driven, they will be successful. So what we do is, as opposed to just saying that we are delivering a 3-month training program, we complement it with one of our partners' platform called Data Camp. So they get a free access to the premium platform. And as you're going through that 3-month training, you're required to complete a plethora of tasks on that freelance platform, on that edtech platform. And so you're getting globally recognized certifications from Data Camp. You're also specializing as you're also learning the basics as well. So maybe although you're taking a data course in data analytics, you might want to potentially work as a business intelligence developer. This additional platform could really help you essentially build that capacity. And because we spend a lot of time finding people who are driven and incentivizing them to keep learning, I think we're able to achieve those outcomes. Secondly as well, we talk about this is a chorus we sing all the time, which is the importance of leadership skills and things of that nature. But I also do think that what is even as powerful is exposure. I always say exposure is probably the most powerful form of education. What I mean by exposure is that we bring people in to talk to them and share their journeys, our alumni who are in the field. So if you're hearing stories about our alumni and saying that, oh, they actually did it, so I can also do it as well, that actually encourages them to actually complete the program. It leads to the completion rate. In addition to that, we take them to companies. So they go visit some of these companies, see how the companies are working. And I think that exposure just gets them to know that there's light at the end of the tunnel. But if you're just saying, just learn, and trust me that I'll place you, it's a different conversation. So these are some of the things that we can do. So even if you're not in an edtech or you're not in one of these training organizations, think about how you can expose yourself to all the myriad opportunities available on the net. And I think today, with the power of the internet, there are so many things at your exposure. And it's a matter of just Googling to see what you can actually be inspired by, whether it's through YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, etc.
Great. I kind of want to ask the same question to Ella. So you've talked a little bit about the importance of project-based in order to gain experience. Do you have other magic ingredients that you think are very valuable for getting young people from training to actually getting a job in a short amount of time?
We are really connected with the ecosystem. Partnership, we're really strong in our partnership with the ecosystem because we engage them early in the process. In the training, we get them involved in our courses, in our student courses, to have talks with students to talk about the area, the expertise, and so that at the end of the training, they can easily connect with them, and they can easily hire them or recruit them, So we do a lot of networking events too. We do a lot of networking events with them in order also to engage them. So as I said, we have a whole team dedicated for the placement. And what we do also is we have a solid alumni networks that can secure it and that can help to do this kind of to do this placement. In short, that's what I can say. But if I can go larger, we have also, so we install this kind of trust with them so that they can really address those challenges for our students. So we have, as I said, Epitech is a hands-on experience, so we have students that work easily with in their challenges, in their real challenges, and so that it creates, we create those kind of connections, so that the hiring or the placement step can be easier for us.
Great.
So.
I think those are great insights from more of the, I would say, the educators' side. I'd love to hear, Kuku, your point of view. You've been to university, you recently finished an EdTech program. How would you say they differ, and maybe if you have some positives, negatives in your own experience, to kind of, like, what did it bring to you, and what are the difference in your opinion?
So in my opinion, there is a very big difference between a college education and and a program such as Talent for Startup. So one of the big difference, especially comparing that someone who's from a college program and someone who is from such a training to get into the job market, one of the huge difference is the issue of soft skills. So someone told me recently that soft skills is other skills. I mean, even if you are able to use as an engineer, you are able to graduate from a university and you're able to use all of the platform to build, to code. If you don't know how to solve problem, critical thinking, communications, being innovative, these simple soft skills is a very big difference between a college education and a program such as this. Because a program such as this, it's project-based. You do projects. You're able to communicate with your colleagues. You're able to make presentations in front of a class or so, and you don't normally see these kind of things at the normal traditional universities, So young Africans, there is a talent gap that young Africans is putting up to bridge that gap. But I want to encourage anyone who's into tech to prioritize, learning soft skills. You have to know how to solve problems, critically. You have to know how to easily communicate, how to express yourselves, So, for example, I try to, Upwork. Most of you know Upwork. So I have had an Upwork account for a few years now, I think 3 or 4 years. But then, I just feel weak to go and apply because, most time people, so the talent, the pool, the job search pool is big at Upwork. It's very large. You have people from everywhere in the world. But the advantage, especially for young people in Rwanda, is that they share the same time zone with Europe. So you share the same time zone with Europe, so it's easy for you to, secure a job because, you can work, in the same time. But even if you have a job, a technical job, and you're not able to easily communicate, and maybe you're young people, you're asked a question, you don't have the thought that I can make a simple research of this. I can bring a whole new idea to this question. If those skills are not developed and built, you're going to lose that job. So back to my example, I did some few applications on Upwork, and yeah, I got one opportunity. I was just trying the job search, the talent pool, and see how responsive it was. So yeah, I had a few offers, and then I took the job, and it was for like I think 3 weeks or a month, very short period. And after that, I developed a questionnaire to send to the employer to see how my skills was. I mean, how was my ability to work with him and to solve these kind of problems. And then one thing he get back to me at was, Kuku, one thing you're different from all of the people I've worked with, it's not a boast, is that I think you try to ask the right question and communicate well, which is a very good soft skills. And I took that feedback, I've not gone back there, but I took that feedback that, I mean, I think this is a problem with young Africans. We are trying to bridge the tech gap with other continents, but let's try to focus on how we can learn more soft skills, how we can get, good at these simple things. So that is the big difference between these kind of programs and the EdTech. We're into EdTech and even the typical university courses and stuff. Thank you.
Thank you for this very thorough answer. I think we're convinced, and I thoroughly agree with you about the essential part of soft skills, which are transversal skills, really. And we know that the landscape of jobs is really quickly evolving. There used to be a time where you did the same job for 10, 15, 20 years sometimes. This is not reality anymore. It doesn't happen. So soft skills is what allows you to bounce back and to do something else and to continually evolve and change. So you've talked about bridging. So I'll talk to Nelly about bridging the gap between what are the potential solutions that you see, in your opinion, between the need for skills and young talents that today are not necessarily finding the right match.
That's a very good question, and probably I'll answer it in the context of the talent itself. So what we have had that employers are always looking to hire, or the opportunities out there, and it's just a matter of making sure out of all the different people across the globe, because nowadays opportunities are global, they're not local anymore. So out of all the opportunities that are out there that you're putting your best foot forward, how can you ensure that you're the best talent for it? How can you ensure that you're considered for it? How can you ensure that you're attractive to it? And I know these are things that you already know and probably you're already doing if you're someone who is looking for an opportunity. I'll still emphasize them. The reason I'm emphasizing them is it's because it's important for you to continuously do. So the first thing that you have to do is, of course, ensure that you have an online presence. And I like to ask or challenge everyone, just try and Google yourself. Are you happy about what you find on Google about yourself? Are you finding that Facebook account that you started when you're just finishing, when you're turning 18 and it has weird-looking pictures as the first thing that represents you? Or are you finding your LinkedIn profile that you've done a lot of work on that introduces you to people? And why I'm saying this is, I mentioned that I'm a recruiter and I work with companies. And one of the ways in which we kind of do verification for people is we go and just do a Google search about them. So what you put out there, what you are putting out there in social media also comes as a factor. So that's something, it's a side note, but that's something to think about. So online presence here, you're looking at ensuring that you have a good LinkedIn profile or having a profile, whatever you find the opportunities, ensuring that you're creating your profile really, really well. Ensuring it has the right headlines, it has the right summary, it has the right showcase. It showcases the skill set, especially that you've learned. There are jobs that require you to have a website. So for example, if you're doing a technical job where someone wants to see what it is that you've done before, you can be able to have a website for that. This will be applicable for people who are doing maybe digital marketing or social media. I want to see whether this is something that you can be able to develop, and that's something that you add onto your profile. The other thing is having a portfolio. If you're then doing any technical related job, similar to website, you need to have a portfolio. For people who are into software development, ensuring that you're on the platforms where software developers are at, whether it's GitHub or the others, and ensuring that your profile is something that people can appreciate and get a good summary of who you are. Remember, the first place or the first point of view to be for you to be noticeable, it's when you're outside of the room. I know most people say, just give me an opportunity to get into that room. I'll show them why I'm the best fit. But imagine you rarely get an opportunity to get into those rooms. So you have to make sure that even when you're not in the room, something is speaking for you. And the first thing that can speak for you is your online presence. The second thing is then your resumes and your cover letters. So for every job that you apply, and every opportunity that you're putting your best foot forward, ensuring that your profile is customized. If I tell you the number of times where you look at a profile and someone has put their name, your first name, Nelly, has a capital letter, the other one, Mutula, has small letters, or then you're writing about your title and all of it is not even capitalized the first word, or people then have grammatical errors on their profile. It's just a lot. So you want to make sure that you're not one of those people where a recruiter is already shoving you off because of how formatted or how the appearance of your profile is at. I like to tell people, keep in mind, for every opportunity that is posted, there are probably 5,000 other people who have thought and said, 5,000 is probably an exaggeration, maybe 200 people who have sat and thought, I'm actually the best fit for this specific role. So you are competing with them, and you need to make sure when you're putting you're making your application for that role, whoever is looking at it, whether it's a recruiter, whether it's a hiring manager, they're actually seeing, I want to be able to meet Kuku because, hey, Kuku's profile looks very, very nice as compared to then anyone else. So that's just around CVs and cover letters. The other thing is ensuring that you're building and leveraging a network. The first, it's good that you're here. So this is one way of you being able to build your network. But it's not just a matter of coming into sessions like this and listening, and then when it's done, you're just the first one out. Try and have a conversation with someone. You never know. Your next employer might be here. Your next coworker might be here. And opportunities come to those who go finding them in one way or the other. So you have to be intentional about building your network, whether it's then through attending sessions like this, and maybe even sitting down with people. I believe every single person has a career path that they're thinking about or has a career goal that they have in mind. And with this, you need to be able to identify someone who you admire that is in that career line, or multiple people that you admire that are in that career line. I'm not going to challenge you to go and find a mentor. I know it's hard. So what I'm going to challenge you to do is try and have just random conversations with people who are in the field. It can be the profession, it can be the industry, it can be someone who is maybe running a business that's something that you want to be able to build yourself, and just have a conversation with them. Ask them why they like it, what skills did they build, why are they still doing it the way they're doing it, and that kind of helps you refine even your own career goal and career path as much as possible. The other thing is continuous learning and continuous skill development. We have covered a bit about what edtechs are doing, so being able to plug into them as much as possible. At times, they come at no cost to you, and it's the only thing that you need to be able to dedicate is your time. So taking the time to be able to identify what are the courses, what are the opportunities that I can be able to take that will allow me to upskill myself in one way or the other. He has talked about soft skills. Soft skills is actually one of those things that are a must-have when you're looking for opportunities. You can't just say, I'm the best engineer that is available, but then when you're asked to explain what it is that you're building, you tell them, what I'm building should speak for itself. No, someone wants to be able to hear your idea of why you started it, why you're growing it, and where it's supposed to be leading you to. There is a point around preparing for interviews. I don't think I have to cover that. You just have to make sure that you're preparing as much as possible for interviews. The other 2 points are around professional etiquette. Now, as I've said, you get into opportunities or you get into rooms, this is a room that you're in, so you get into a room like this where there are people who potentially can be able to connect you with what you're looking for. And being professional about it will always make an impact. Making sure that someone remembers you because of how you introduced yourself, what you said, what you asked. It's really, really important for you to be able to build this. And this ties into soft skills. So ensuring that you can communicate, ensuring that you can explain who you are, ensuring that you can be able to show someone what you can be able to do for them or bring to the table for them. And then the last part of it is ensuring you're understanding your market. Now, I've talked about having a career goal and having a career path. With that, then it also comes with understanding the market. So what are the jobs that are out there? What levels are there? What courses or what things have people done that have allowed them to be able to prosper or thrive in that specific area. And you knowing this then allows you to know also what opportunities or what networking sessions you need to be attending. Without knowing this, then it becomes difficult for it. And then I will summarize that with something Kuku said, which was around ensuring that you're seeking feedback. The example that he gave of after he finished what he was doing, he was able to go back and ask, okay, what did I do? How well did I do it? You can actually leverage on this to even help you analyze your own soft skills. You know, every single person, I know if I ask all of you here, you'd be able to say, I believe I'm a good communicator, but the person who can validate whether you're a good communicator is the person seated next to you, not yourself. So just having sessions with people and just asking them questions about yourself, and especially people that you've worked with, people who have maybe interacted with you in a professional setup, will be able to be the better people to tell you this. Why? Because maybe if you ask your brother or your sibling will tell you, yes, you're the best. You have done everything well. However, if you ask a potential employer, maybe who managed you when you're doing a project, they'll be like, yeah, you did this, but maybe this is what you can be able to improve on. And then seeking mentorship. And mentorship doesn't have to be a long, tiring process for either of the parties. It's something that you can be able to do quite fast. And if you're able to do at least pick one or two things to do out of this, you're going to really, really stand out and ensure that your market.
Thank you so much for all these really good tips. I hope that some of you took notes. On my side, I will be checking my Facebook profile this evening when I go back home to see what's public. We're reaching the end of the session. I'm going to ask maybe one last question to Ella and Jeff, and then I don't know if we have time for maybe a couple questions. I'll wait for them to tell me if we have time to do that or not. So maybe we'll start with Jeff and finish with Ella. It's going to be the same question. What do you do to boost employability? What are the specific things that you do to boost employability?
All right, so I'll take this question in two parts. The part of what training providers often do, and then what you can do to boost employability by yourself. So I think for the training provider section, I remember very well that I put a challenge to our students and asked them that the person who can actually find an internship by themselves will get a prize from Blossom because we focus on actually finding the internships. It's not very scalable. And it got to the end of the cohort and no one could find an internship for themselves. And I was very curious why they couldn't, because we had taught them all the tips and tricks. As my colleagues have mentioned, having an online profile, building your LinkedIn, sharing projects on there all help. And one of them said something very powerful, which was, Blossom Academy directs them. So if Blossom goes to an employer and says that this person is good, then the employer will say, indeed, I'm willing to hire that person. And I thought that was very interesting as a training provider. It means that our job is to ensure that we build a strong brand enough and continuously provide excellence to the point that anyone that goes through our program, we can successfully place. Is it enough, though? I don't think it's enough. So I'm always thinking about how do we ensure that people can essentially find these opportunities by themselves. Now, we talk about soft skills a lot here, but I'm also very mindful of the fact that majority of us might not necessarily be able to get into some of these tech programs that would actually provide you with a soft skills training, very unfortunately. So what can you do right now to build those skills? And I think it's problem solving. Within your respective communities, there are problems that you can solve today. You just have to get started. Some of our alumni I'm most impressed by are the ones who essentially provide their skills on a volunteer basis to support the informal economy. One alumni specifically, Rolanda, I remember when she finished with the program, her cousin sells vegetables in the informal market. Now she helped her cousin start recording the sales of her vegetables, recording how much, spoils, in what period. And by the end of working with her cousin, she was able to build a dashboard for the cousin to understand that if you focus on this vegetable during this period, you increase your sales, you reduce spoilage, things of that nature. By doing that and presenting that, she's actually building these soft skills as well. So these are some of the things that you can start thinking about doing within your own respective communities. Now, there's this whole idea of, I think it's more so cultural. A lot of us are not comfortable putting ourselves out there. And it's very much understandable, right? But the beauty about the internet is you don't necessarily, you can just post something and then decide to hide, but you've posted it. And I share this to say that I've seen alumni who have just shared projects they've done at Blossom on their LinkedIn profiles and have secured job offers as a result of that as well. So we talked about portfolios. Build that portfolio, share a project, and you never know who would actually see it. And it also helps you become a thought leader. The algorithms work to your advantage, right? So the more you're posted on these platforms, the more relevant that you can also become as well. And the last point I'll make is, don't be scared about also sharing the fact that you're searching for opportunities. The problem here is that sometimes like, God will provide. We say that in Ghana a lot, right? So you just kind of wait till you hope that something would happen. But be intentional about sharing that you're looking for something. And as you find this thing, it might not be paid, but still apply yourself. I remember I spoke to one of our current students, and she was sharing with me that, going to the internship, what if she's not going to work on the role, she's not going to work on tasks that align with what she learned at Blossom? What if she's going to waste her time during those 3 months? What I shared with her is that going with that problem-solving mentality, you have to figure out how you can adapt. So if you go into the company, you say that, okay, maybe the company has data in silos. Although I'm supposed to do a data analytics internship, they're letting me do maybe, let me run errands, something that's not aligned with what I studied. How do you say, this is what I've learned, give me that data, I'll want to do something for you. By doing that, yes, you're building these soft skills, but you're also creating that opportunity for you to end up being retained within that company. If you don't even get retained, the beauty about that is that through global platforms, you can also tap into some of these remote opportunities. We talk about entrepreneurship a lot, but I'm also very bullish on remote jobs. I really do believe that remote jobs, entrepreneurship are two of the pathways to really help develop wealth on the continent, because I've seen alumni start to build homes because of getting a remote job in the likes of the UK, the US, etc. But you can only do that when you actually put yourself out there and start solving problems and make yourself relevant. So I really implore you to think in that direction as well.
Great, thank you so much. Ella, do you have anything to add in that? What would be your recommendation, and how do you boost employability at Epitech?
I think Jeff said a lot that I was thinking, but I want to focus on problem-solving skills mindset, because I think that's the main great thing we try to initiate to our students, so that after the training, if unfortunately they don't have jobs or whatever, they can push this entrepreneurship mindset on their way. We have a lot of alumni, Epitech alumni, that start online business, freelancing, and create their own job, their own startups, and that's what we're trying to push at Epitech. So I think with this kind of mindset, you can easily adapt in different kinds of situations, in different sectors, in different areas, and you come with some propositions versus some. You come with solution solving. You don't come to just sit there and do what the company will tell you to do. You come with some of initiating things, some of innovation solution to the company, and this extra thing you can do. That's what I can.
Thank you so much. Do we have time for questions or not? No, I've been 3 minutes. Okay, we have time for at least 2 questions if you're quick. So you, sir, were the first one to raise your hand right over there. Yes, you, I'm looking at you. I don't know if you have mics, maybe stand up and shout. Yes.
Thank you so much. Gilbert is my name. I run a tech hub in Mackay University, Uganda. Thank you. Hello. So Gilbert is my name. I run a tech hub in Mackay University in Uganda, but I'm also a Digital Africa connector for East African region. 2 questions. One, you've talked about employability, and the MasterCard Foundation defines employability in their own way, something dignifying and fulfilling. I would want to get a definition of what you would think would be a good job employability in your own simple words? Is it still about dignifying and fulfilling or something else? Then two, for someone who is passionate about starting up an edtech, what are some of those thoughts that you would share, especially around funding? Because it's not really cheap to run an edtech. It needs quite a number of resources. So where is the funding? Where is the support, apart from the Digital Africa that is supporting such initiatives? Thank you so much.
Thank you for your questions. If I may, I will direct the first question to Nelly and the second one to Jeff, if it's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
I feel as if Jeff will be able to answer the question around what's employability.
Okay, I mean, if Jeff wants to answer every question, yes, we can do that as well.
But I'll add to what you'll say, no worries.
All right, so I mean, I think, I'm glad you mentioned the MasterCard Foundation because, and I see why Nelly said, because we had a conversation about this, and we are doing a coalition program with them in Ghana, and they are looking to push the whole agenda of remote work through freelance platforms like Upwork. And for them, that is also considered employability, the idea of being able to help someone get a job in the gig economy. I think for myself, I'm always very hard on myself, so I always like to go a bit extreme. I think for myself is the whole idea of, are you able to cover your basic needs, right? And sometimes it doesn't mean that you're wearing a suit and tie and going to the office, but you could be sitting from the comfort of your home. Are you earning enough to cover your basic needs? And I think that as citizens of any nation, we should be able to cover our basic needs. And unfortunately, sometimes we are not able to. It's why I go back, I can't stop talking about the importance of remote work, but I go back to that because I think it really bridges that gap. The stats say that by 2030, there'll be 85 million tech job shortage in the likes of US, UK, Canada. And I think that the African youths, we are well positioned to really play a role in that economy as well and cover these basic needs. So that's how I, see it.
I mean, I would still say that the definition that they have, which is about finding fulfilling work, still does apply. And as we have said, it doesn't always have to be employment. You don't have to be finding opportunities where you are hired by another company to do whatever it is that you need to do. It can also be entrepreneurial opportunities. But regardless of whichever option you pick, all this require you to be able to just employ all the different things that we've talked about here, making sure that you're showcasing yourself out there. If you're running your own business, you still need to be able to build a brand around it. If you're then employed somewhere, you still need to be able to showcase your hard skills and your soft skills. Hard skills are your technical skills and soft skills. So either way, regardless of the definition, it still applies to both whether you're finding an opportunity where you're going to be employed or you're doing entrepreneurship. Yeah.
And regarding the second question, do you, Ella or Jeff, have any tips for future edtech development?
So I can share something. It's hard. Yeah, it's hard.
Really hard.
And it's hard having to raise funding all the time. It could be grant funding or service contracts, and then you deplete them, you have to go back to it. But I really think that the trick is in the alumni community. Being intentional about building a strong alumni community could really help you build something that can last, because if you create a sticky effect, one, you can essentially place the alumni into better paying jobs that will be willing to pay you a percentage of their salary. That's one way to generate revenue. Or there could be a membership fee, if you create it sticky enough, right, that they can actually get some value from it. I think for us at Blossom, we essentially working on two companies at the same time. So you have a corporate division, Blossom Corporate, and Blossom Academy. In the very early stages, Blossom Corporate really helped us survive. And we realized that, I think, back to the point that Penelope made about the 230 million digital skills gap, if you actually look in that data and break it down into depth, you realize that majority of those opportunities come from upskilling, which are current companies looking to upskill their staff. And even you go even more deeper, you realize that it's multinationals in these large corporations. So we became very bullish on that and really started offering a lot of corporate training programs until it got to a point where we built the credibility for us to bring partners on board and keep following that trainings. So I think when you're operating on this continent, you kind of have to build two companies at the same time if you're not raising an investment. And it's hard, but it's a sacrifice, and you have to just think long term.
Thank you so much. Do we have time for one more question? I've been telling 1 minute. Okay, we'll take one from the gentleman over there. Yes. Waiting for the mic.
I want to combine that question with his. He's been very patient, waiting.
Good afternoon, colleagues. My name is Piluami from Botswana. My question is directed at Jeff. I'm sorry, Jeff.
It's okay.
Yes. What steps have you taken to identify and address gaps, career management gaps amongst your trainees? And how effective are these are the steps? For example, have you done career management seminars or development seminars? Over to you.
Yes, so we have, so it's part of our training programs. We provide leadership skills training, interview preparations. My colleague Delphine actually is part of the people who handles that, so shout out to her. And, essentially helps them build confidence as they are, going through the training program. So the time that they are done, they have the relevant skills that, they believe will help them thrive. However, because I came from a very heavy tech background, I'm always thinking about scalability. So what we are playing with right now is, can we leverage AI to simulate soft skills training, right? So is there a world in which maybe people can actually use AI to prepare for interview preparations, to build, to understand workplace dynamics, different cultures? It's something that's being done in regions like India, actually, but I'm not seeing here on the continent. So we're thinking about that a lot to really help us scale our efforts, as opposed to it just being very manual. As soon as they're going through the program and they have access to platforms like DataCamp that I mentioned, they should also have a platform that we've developed that simulates, real world preparations, right? Where you are going to face in the job market, how to navigate, dealing with conflict at the workplace, things of that nature. And quite unfortunately, we cannot necessarily do all that during a 3-month training program. So I see these technologies helping us scale and bridge that gap.
I think we reached the end of this panel. I'm sorry for the other questions, we just don't have time. And please feel free to come and chat with us. Thank you so much for staying. I know you've been sitting down and listening to people talk for a long time, so thank you. Thank you to all panelists for sharing your experience and your expertise. And yeah, that will be it on our side. I don't know if there's a session right after this or not, but I don't have the information right now. And I hope you have a wonderful afternoon.